I never expected to find life-changing stories in unforgettable animated tales. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment my reality twisted into something I couldn't understand. I sat in my dimly lit room, the screen flickering like a heartbeat. Animated characters danced across the screen, their colors vibrant yet haunting. But there was something more, a deep connection to the anguish stirring inside me. My hands trembled as I recalled the words of my late grandmother. "Stories hold magic," she used to say, her voice a soft echo in my heart. I struggled to find solace in her absence. Each day felt heavier. My parents had their own battle, mom with her unrelenting sadness, dad buried in work. I was lost, caught in the silence of our home. The laughter of my friends felt like a distant memory. Every smile was a mask, hiding the truth. I had a secret, a weight that pressed down on me, invisible yet suffocating. Why did I feel so alone as I watched these tales unfold? Something strange happened. Each story seemed to mirror my fears. A character losing everything. Another discovering hope against all odds. I felt a pulse. Could these animated tales actually unlock something deep within me? Images of the characters clung to my mind. Their struggles felt raw. Their triumphs flickered with light in my darkness. But what if this was just a distraction? The night grew darker. Outside my window, the wind howled, like a beast begging to be let in. Suddenly, the screen glitched, freezing on a gripping scene. A figure stepped forward, a girl with tear-stained cheeks, eyes glistening. "You have to choose," she urged, her voice hushed yet piercing. My heart pounded. Choose what? Was she speaking to me? Everything felt surreal. Was it a trick of the light, or was I truly being drawn into this world? I leaned closer, fighting a lump in my throat. The room around me faded. It was just the two of us now, suspended in anticipation. What lay beyond the vibrant colors and enchanting melodies? What lesson waited just out of reach? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The girl's pleading eyes held a desperate spark, igniting something within me I couldn't quite name. I reached out, a foolish hope threading through the thick fog of despair that had enveloped my life. "What am I supposed to choose?" I whispered, unsure if I could even hear her response over the roaring silence in my heart. With a trembling voice, she spoke again. "You need to decide if you want to stay hidden in pain or fight to find your joy." Her words spun around me. They were magnetic, pulling me in, yet terrifyingly heavy. Just like that, my heart lurched into a storm of emotion. How could something as simple as a choice feel so colossal? My fingers brushed my cheeks, feeling the heat of unspilled tears. Could I really fight for joy when I was sinking in sorrow? Before I could respond, the screen flickered again, and the girl began to fade, leaving behind the palpable weight of her message. That moment lingered in my mind, a haunting echo in an already tumultuous sea of thoughts. How could I choose joy when it felt like joy had forgotten me? The next day, I wandered through the empty hallways of my school, a faded shadow among vibrant lives. Children laughed, shared secrets, and exchanged glances, but I was just an observer. My friend Claire, the one who used to invite me to her lunch table, had started distancing herself. I could see her sympathy changing into something uncomfortable. She didn't know how to navigate my grief, and neither did I. Every time I saw her, her worried eyes screamed, "Help me help you." During recess, I parked myself on a cold bench, clutching my lunch like a lifebuoy. That's when I overheard two girls talking nearby. "Do you think she's okay? I heard her dad is always working late now." "Yeah, something must be really wrong." "I can't imagine how she feels." Their whispers gnawed at my heart. Did they think I was broken? Were they worried I would crumble under the weight of my sorrow? In that moment, I felt like the subject of a solemn display, like a painting in a gallery that nobody wanted to look too closely at. But then, A flicker of warmth cut through. A boy I barely knew, a classmate named Jamie, approached me holding a worn-out comic book. "Hey, I saw you sitting here alone. Want to, check this out?" His nervousness was almost charming. I blinked, surprised by his small act of kindness. "It's nothing fancy," he added, clearly unsure of how to soothe the invisible chasm between us. I took the comic, my fingers grazing against the glossy cover. "Thanks," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. His genuine smile nudged a piece of my heart, reminding me that maybe there was still a thread of connection. As the days went by, Jamie's kind gestures became a thread I held on to. He would share stories in a light-hearted way, urging me out of my shell bit by bit, like sunlight seeping through the cracks of a long-closed window. His presence was a distraction, a lifeline, but still, the shadows loomed large, especially when night fell, and the loneliness crept back. I continued to immerse myself in the animated stories, the girl's voice echoing through my mind. They whispered about choices and resilience, urging me onward. Each tale I watched chipped away at the walls I'd built. Maybe joy wasn't merely a choice, but an act of courage. Maybe kindness, like Jamie's, could unlock doors I'd long slammed shut. Then one fateful evening, as I exhaled a deep breath to drown out the tension that had become my bedfellow, I felt a pull not from the screen, but from my heart. I picked up a pencil and opened my journal, forcing myself to write. Words poured out, jagged and raw, spilling onto the page like inked tears. But out of nowhere, the door burst open. My father stood there, eyes wide not with anger, but something so foreign I couldn't comprehend it. "Fear? We need to talk," he said, emotion thick in his voice. My heart dropped. Had he finally seen? As I looked into his eyes, tumultuous skies filled them. The familiar frown became laced with vulnerability. The unsteady path I had chosen just grew even more complicated, and the weight of the moment settled heavily on my chest. What if this conversation shifted everything I had come to know? "Have you been okay?" His voice trailed off, and I could feel the unspoken weight of his own battles. The night air thickened, pregnant with possibilities, sensing the storm brewing between us. I glanced back at my desk where my journal lay open, my thoughts tangled around the stories I had poured my heart into. Did I dare open up? The truth hung suspended in the air like the storm raging outside. Would I choose to bare my soul, or retreat into the fortress I had constructed so carefully around my pain? As the words trembled on my lips, the room surrounded me, pulsating with uncertain hope. The choice felt monumental, yet I was just beginning to understand that every moment possessed its own magic waiting for me to grasp it. The piercing silence that followed my father's hesitant question hung in the air, making the shadows in the room stretch and twist into unfamiliar shapes. I felt my heart racing, the impulse to shield the truth roaring within me, but then I caught a glimpse of his trembling hands. How long had I been so focused on my own despair that I failed to see his? His vulnerability was like a mirror, reflecting everything I had buried deep inside. "I don't know," I finally said, the words spilling out more as a confession than an answer. I'm trying to understand everything." My voice quaked, but something inside urged me to keep going, to dismantle the fortress I had barricaded myself within. He stepped further into the room, closing the door behind him with a soft click that resonated like a countdown in the silence. "You don't have to carry it alone. I wish I could have been more present for you." There was a weariness in his tone, a testament to the battles he had fought all on his own. "I thought it was my fault," I replied, the dam threatening to burst, my heart racing in rhythm with the storm outside. "Thought if I stayed quiet, things would just get better. But they feel worse." The words tasted bitter, a release of pent-up emotions I had kept chained within me. "I lost my way too," he admitted, and I could hear the heaviness of unspoken burdens layered within, the remnants of choices made long before I entered the picture. "Maybe that's why I haven't been around. I didn't know how to be there for you when I wasn't sure how to be there for myself." In that moment, we stood on the precipice of a shared abyss. The storm raged outside, but for the first time, it didn't feel like a separate entity. It mirrored the tempest swirling within us, and I realized that our grief, though churned by different circumstances, was woven from the same fabric of longing and connection. But how could I climb out of my sorrow? Was it possible to hope again? Do you think we could try? I asked, my voice a whisper, unsure of its strength. To be together again, like we were before? A flicker of something warm ignited between us, an ember hidden beneath the ashes of expectation. I want that more than you know. We just need to be honest with each other, he said, his eyes searching mine, as if he were trying to navigate his way through my turbulent seas. I'm sorry if you felt alone. You're never alone. I promise to try harder. Can you do the same? His encouragement, fragile yet persistent, sparked something within me. I can try, I said, and the simple act of agreement felt like a tether, a thin thread pulling me back toward trust and connection. As we spoke, the walls began to crack, revealing the raw hues of understanding that had been waiting beneath. We shared broken pieces of our lives, intricately tangled, as the wind howled outside, its ferocity a testament to the storms we faced within us. Each confession shattered the silence that had cocooned us, carving pathways for possibility. But just as I began to sense a flicker of hope, the unrelenting dread of my own mind surged anew. With a sharp, sudden intensity, I recalled the moments where I had let my sorrow overshadow everything else. My mind raced to Claire's worried gaze. Jamie's nervous smile, their kindness amplified the weight of my own struggles. What if they saw past my facade, perceived the depth of my despair? And in my heart, a question arose with suffocating clarity. What if they couldn't help but see me as damaged? The thought extinguished some of the burgeoning light. I glanced at my father, who had been watching me with a look of tentative encouragement that crumbled under the weight of my internal chaos. I'm scared, I admitted, my voice smaller than the fear that filled the room. What if I can't live up to this, or worse, what if I fail and hurt you even more? He reached out, his hand warm against the chill around me, and in that moment I felt the distance begin to collapse, but shadows loomed still in the corners of my heart. Just then, the shrill of my phone startled us both. I reached for it, my heart skipping at the sight of a message from Claire. Can we talk? I'm really worried about you. I glanced back up at my father, anxiety tightening my chest. The phone felt like a weight, my throat constricting, as a truth dawned. The choices I had been avoiding now loomed like thunderclouds gathering for a storm more turbulent than I could imagine. Could I navigate this newfound connection, not only with my father but with Claire and Jamie too? As I opened my mouth to respond, the words clawed at my throat, fear and hope jostling for dominance. Would I retreat back into darkness, or dare to leap into the unknown light of connection waiting just beyond the threshold? Yet before I could find the courage to speak, another text pinged in, this one from Jamie. I really miss sharing those comics with you. I hope you're okay. The warmth of his words clashed against the chill of my doubts, leaving me suspended between the longing for connection and the fear of revealing the depths of my pain. With the weight of both texts weighing heavily in my hands, I felt the ground beneath me begin to tremble, echoing the turmoil in my heart. What if stepping into this light meant facing a darkness I wasn't ready for? The atmosphere in the room thickened with unanswered questions, the flickering light casting restless shadows that seemed to dance in sync with my heart. I felt as though I were teetering on a tightrope strung high above a chasm of uncertainty, each text vibrating with the potential of connection or catastrophe. The weight of Claire and Jamie's messages felt both like a lifeline and a heavy anchor, pulling me deeper into the turmoil I had tried to escape. What do you want to do? My father asked, his voice a gentle nudge against the rising tide of my thoughts. It was a simple question, yet one laden with complexity that made it all the more daunting. The corners of his eyes crinkled, searching for a spark of resolve. I'll support whatever you decide. But it starts with you. In those moments of quiet between us, I could hear the wind outside howl like a soul in torment, mirroring the chaos that raged within me. I thought of Claire, of Jamie, two friends who had shown me nothing but kindness, who offered their own stories and struggles when I least expected it. I hadn't just built walls against my sorrow, I had also walled off their warmth. I want to reach out, I finally said, the decision bringing with it both a thrill and a dread that clung to my skin like the humid air before a storm. But what if they can't handle everything? The ache in my chest, a harbinger of all the things I hadn't yet said, felt like it might split me open. "They care about you," my dad said softly, "and sometimes letting someone in is the bravest thing you can do. You won't know until you try." The way he spoke, with a tenderness that radiated hope, sent a flicker of warmth through the ice that had encased my heart. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds of the storm wash over me. Images of Claire and Jamie's faces floated through my mind, their laughter a balm for my spirit. The memory of sharing comics with Jamie, our wild laughter echoing beneath the glow of a street lamp after long evenings of animated discussion, made me ache with a longing for connection I had suppressed for so long. What if they see me as weak? What if I can't find the right words? I whispered, feeling the tendrils of doubt snake back into my heart. "Vulnerability doesn't equate to weakness," he said, leaning closer, his feet firmly grounded on the path we were forging together. "It's sharing your humanity. If they truly care, they'll see strength in your honesty." As I nodded slowly, the threat of the storm outside began to recede into the background, replaced by the steady heartbeat of courage rising within me. I could do this. I closed my eyes and shed all my energy into planting my feet firmly on this tightrope of courage. My fingers danced over the screen of my phone, my heart pounding louder than the thundering sky outside. I hesitated, a million possibilities rushing through my mind. But there was also the memory of how Claire had sat beside me during my darkest times, holding my hand when words had failed. And Jamie's goofy face, peering expectantly when ID finally cracked a smile after days of silence. With a deep breath that felt like diving into the unknown, I began typing. "I really miss you both. Can we talk? I've been struggling. I want to share. I want to be honest." The words felt monumental, each one precariously perched, echoing my recognition of what I had always pushed away. I hit send and held my breath, heart racing and pulse quickening, as if I had just cast a line into the abyss that would determine my fate. My phone vibrated, a response popping up like a splash in a still pond. Of course, Claire's name glowed on the screen. "I'm here for you. Let's meet up." I barely had time to process her reply before Jamie's name lit up, following swiftly behind. "I'm all about sharing stories. What's on your mind?" A warm rush engulfed me, blooming in the hollow of my chest, but it was accompanied by an unsettling sense of vulnerability too. What if they saw how lost I truly felt? Taking a moment, I looked at my father, who nodded with gentle encouragement. Just as clarity flooded me, the shrill ring of the doorbell echoed through the room, shattering my newfound focus. The reverberation startled me, a loud intrusion into the warm cocoon of understanding we had begun knitting together. My heart jumped, half expecting that the storm had sent unexpected visitors our way. "I'll get it," my father said, rising from the chair. What if it was more than just a neighbor caught out in the rain? What if it was someone from the past, someone who didn't know yet that I was trying to journey out of darkness? My pulse quickened at the thought, a shiver of anxiety slipping down my spine. As he opened the door, I heard a muffled voice filtering in, followed by an unmistakable whoosh of the wind carrying a whisper of my past. The urgency in that voice turned my blood cold. It was a name I had nearly forgotten but wouldn't shake from memory. One I had spent countless sleepless nights trying to reconcile the ramifications of. Suddenly, the emotional undercurrent surged once marine, unwelcome reminder that life, unpredictable and intertwined, has a way of addressing unresolved stories when least expected. The door swung wider and I strained to catch a glimpse. A chilling realization gripped my throat tighter than any fear before me. Heart wrestled with the shadow of a person I never imagined would intrude upon this moment of fragile growth and honesty. As my father turned to face me, the shock echoed across his features. The air between us sharpened, and my world, finally flickering with a hint of brightness, felt like it might crash back into shadow. What had I just let into our lives? The air thickened in an instant, swelling with unspoken words and 1,000 memories that threatened to spill out like an uncontained storm. My father stood frozen, as if the figure that appeared at our threshold was a ghost from a time we'd tried desperately to forget. I felt the ground beneath my feet shift slightly, as though the very foundation of my resolve was shaken by the arrival of this unexpected visitor. David, the voice called softly, a mixture of hesitation and yearning intertwining in the syllables. That name hung in the air, heavy with the weight of past grievances, unresolved conflicts shifting like sand through an hourglass. I looked up to see a silhouette framed against the entryway, my breath hitching as familiarity ignited a fiery flash of mixed emotions within me. Lydia, I breathed. The name felt foreign on my tongue, a relic of a time when our lives had been stitched together by a fragile thread. She stepped forward, drenched from the rain, her hair clinging to her cheeks like shadows of apologies. Her eyes, once warm pools of compassion, now bore the tension of years of stubbornness, moments unshared, and unresolved pain. What are you doing here? I managed to ask, every syllable laced with the confusion that was now boiling beneath the surface of my composure. My mind raced through fragmented memories, snippets of laughter and late-night conversations that had turned sour in the aftermath of our parting. I came to find you, she stammered, her voice barely rising above the cacophony of the storm. I know things ended badly between us, and I understand if you're angry, but I need to talk. Can we just? She trailed off, glancing nervously at my father, as if she sought his approval more than mine. There was a moment of stillness and eternity layered between us, filled with all the words unspoken. I felt the fragile balance of hope and anxiety pulsating within me. Just as I had begun to step out of the shadows, to reach out to Claire and Jamie, the universe had thrown this curveball that threatened to unravel everything. Why now? I asked, my voice strained, reflecting my own tumultuous emotions. Why after all this time? Her gaze held mine, fierce yet fearful, echoing the complex tapestry of our past. Because I think I've finally realized how much I've missed you, how much I need closure. I didn't appreciate what we had. I was scared, David. I didn't know how to be vulnerable then, and it drove me away. My chest tightened once more, a clash of memories igniting in me. I thought of the countless moments of laughter we shared, the dreams we spun under stars that felt so far away. Yet I also recalled the bitterness of betrayal and silence that formed the jagged edges of my heart. You broke my trust, I whispered, forcing the admission through gritted teeth, the ache in my heart flaring anew. I know, and I'm sorry. Her voice trembled. But I can't change the past. All I can do is ask for a chance to make things right. I'd hate for us to remain strangers when I believe we can be more strangers. The word lingered in the air, twisting my heart in a vice grip. I wanted to recoil, wanted to shut her out, retreat back into the sanctuary I had just begun to carve out for myself. Yet, somewhere deep inside, where fear threatened to overshadow hope, echoed the reality of my own yearning for own accord, resonating with the same longing I had felt reaching out to Claire and Jamie. I need time, I managed at last, my fingers itching to grab my phone, to share this unexpected emotional upheaval with my friends who cared. I just reached out to Claire and Jamie. They're important to me, and I need to sort through this before I can even think about us. The flicker of understanding in Lydia's eyes was quickly snatched away by the storm building once more outside, mimicking the maelstrom within me. I'll give you time, I promise, she said softly. But please know that I'm here. My father stepped towards me, a subtle press of his presence urging me to lean back into my strength. You don't have to make any decisions right now. Just breathe. Well, sort through this together. His voice a buoy amid the crashing waves of uncertainty, but the currents of my thoughts were overpowering. Just when I thought I was ready to explore a future of openness and honesty with Claire and Jamie, my past had come knocking a stark reminder that unburdening one's heart meant confronting the chains that had bound it. I appreciate that, truly, I said to Lydia, careful not to let myself waver too much. But I have to find my footing first, before I can think about what comes next. Just please don't overwhelm me right now, she nodded slowly, her expression fragile, understanding there were complexities that went beyond mere words. I'll wait, she said. I won't push you. As I closed the door, I felt the solid click reverberate through me like a heavy curtain coming down. The storm outside raged endlessly, yet inside my heart, uncertainty brewed anew. My phone buzzed, Claire's message lighting up the screen, echoing my internal struggle. I'm here for you. Yet even as the comfort of that truth wrapped around me, I couldn't escape the gravity of the moment I just endured. Entranced by conflicting desires, I found myself standing at a precipice once more. What had just materialized from the depths of my past? And how would I navigate the tumultuous sea of friendship, vulnerability, and reconciliation that now beckoned me forward? In that turbulent swirl, I scrolled through Lydia's message in my mind while my heart trembled at the thought of what truth to reveal first me unresolved feelings, the hope for reconnection, or simply the fact that life was far more intricate than I ever could have imagined. The noise of thunder echoed around me as I paced the small confines of my living room, each footfall a percussion to the symphony of my thoughts. The rain continued to bathe the world outside, cascading down the windows in a rhythm that mimicked the scattered beats of my uneasy heart. Memories of Lydia's eyes haunted me, their stormy depths unsettling yet familiar. They were reminders of a past that refused to stay buried. I grabbed my phone, needing a tether. Claire's message, simple and supportive, persisted in glowing against the dim light of the room. I typed, hesitating, my fingers hovering over the screen. Should I spill the entire tumultuous current of my emotions out to her? But what if I burdened her with something she was not ready to carry? With an exhale, I flipped the phone to silent mode, dropping it onto the couch as if it buzzed with wildfire. Instead, I turned towards the kitchen, seeking refuge in the therapeutic act of pouring a glass of water with steady hands. Each splash held a sliver of calm, yet my thoughts remained a whirlpool of anxiety. I was moving forward, tentatively reaching out to friends who rekindled sparks of hope, yet here I was confronted by an echo of everything I had once thought I had put to rest. In a burst of frustration, I opened the door to the patio, the fresh scent of rain hitting me like a wave, grounding yet overwhelming. A shroud of vapor whispered around me, and I leaned against the railing, allowing the droplets to touch my skin, a desperate grasp at clarity. The storm mirrored my inner chaos, and for a moment, I felt an odd kinship with the weather. And then, just as darkness enveloped me, unexpected laughter erupted from the other side of the street. I looked over, curiosity pulling my attention as a few neighborhood children danced gleefully in the rain, splashing in puddles with abandon. Their joy seemed inexplicable, shining vibrantly against the muted colors of the evening. In that instant, a fleeting warmth bubbled in my chest, a reminder that, even amidst the tempest, light could still break through. I stepped back inside, closing the door but leaving the memories of laughter echoing softly in my mind. Perhaps hope existed even in small, simple pockets of life. But the echo of Lydia's plea still loomed, casting shadows on any flicker of light. I grabbed my phone again, intent on messaging Claire when a notification interrupted the screen. Flashed another name. It was Jamie, the notification reading, "Dude, we need to talk. Important stuff." My heart dropped. A sense of dread mingled with anticipation flooded my veins. The last time we had important stuff to discuss, it was about Jamie's family struggles, something that would leave its mark on him for life. But as I scrolled deeper into Jamie's thread, something in his tone sounded different this time. It was urgent and not at all like his usual cavalier approach to life's ups and downs. Reluctantly, I typed back, "What's up?" My thumbs hovered while I caught the remnants of my breath, waiting for the inevitable deluge of information. His reply came quickly, revealing a storm of emotions that had nothing to do with the weather outside. "I saw something online about Lydia. It can't be true, right?" An icy wave washed over me. What had Jamie found? My stomach dropped, something in the pit of my gut grew heavier by the second. "What did you see?" I found myself rushing to ask, eagerness battling the fear clawing at my heart. "Just some rumors about her moving back here, but you should check it out. There might be more to it than we thought." The walls seemed to close in, my heart racing in response to the revelation. The very woman I had tried to digest an entire past with had returned, not just in memory, but in physicality, as if life threw the gauntlet down once more. Would her coming back change everything? Images of what could have been surged to mind, intermingled with memories of stagnant trust and the pain of betrayal. I didn't have time to process if Lydia's return was a chance for rekindling what had been lost, or a threat to the fragile connections I was rebuilding. How could I expect to navigate this labyrinth of emotions when another storm was gathering on the horizon? Before I had a chance to respond further, the phone rung unknown number. My breath paused. Was this fate pushing me, one last twist of the knife ready to reveal? I answered, uncertainty swirling within as a voice echoed from the other side. David? It's Maya. I have something you need to hear. It's about Lydia. My world shifted again. The pieces of an unending puzzle didn't simply fit together any longer. They crumbled beneath my fingers, leaving a gaping void of anticipation and fear. What could Maya possibly mean? And what truth weighed in the wings? I stood there, caught between the storm outside and the tempest raging within, both leaving me questioning how far the past could reach into my future. As the rain drummed steadily against the kitchen window, I felt like a spectator in my own life. I clutched the phone to my ear, Maya's voice a distant, haunting echo that reverberated in my chest. I was drawn deeper into a whirlwind of uncertainty as she spoke. David, I know this is sudden, but you need to understand Lydia's not just coming back. There's more to it, Maya said, her tone heavy with gravity. What do you mean? I managed to utter, my heart pounding as if it were attempting to escape my body. What's happened? She hesitated, and the silence stretched between us like a taut string ready to snap. Finally, Maya drew a breath, her voice cracking slightly. She's sick, David. Terminal illness. I thought you should know before you hear it from someone else. The world around me seemed to fade as her words sank in, each syllable crashing down like a weight I had never anticipated. Lydia, fragments of her laughter, the flicker of her smile, the weight of her sorrow all came flooding back, yet now they were steeped in a heartbreaking reality. Terminal? I echoed, the word tasting bitter and foreign on my tongue. Yes. I just found out. She was diagnosed a few months ago, and she's opted to return here for treatment, but it doesn't sound good. Each word felt like a blast of cold air, cutting through the warmth of the memories I had clung to so fiercely. I struggled to find a cohesive thought, grappling with the tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. Fear, anger, sadness, they all surged wildly, tangling and distorting, making it impossible to process anything clearly. Why wouldn't she tell me? Why would she keep this from everyone? Maya sighed softly, the empathy in her voice palpable. I think it's hard for her, David. She was always private about her struggles. Maybe she thought it would be easier for everyone if she just handled it alone. The thought of Lydia facing this fight without me, or anyone she cared for, unsettled me deeply. A part of me wanted to scream, to demand she reach out for compassion instead of solitude. Yet, I also understood the instinct to retreat into oneself during a storm. What do you want me to do? I barely whispered, my voice breaking with deep-seated conflict. You need to see her. She may not have enough time left to fix things, but maybe she wants to try. And maybe you need to too. Try? Try how? I pressed, voice rising unnaturally. Angry tears stung my eyes, and I clenched my jaw, fighting against a flood of memories that were beginning to morph into a sea of regret. How can someone just come back into your life like that after, because life isn't as simple as we want it to be? Maya interrupted gently. It's complicated and messy. You owe it to yourself to at least hear her out and consider what you truly want. With a sudden surge of desperation, I sank onto a kitchen chair, running a hand through my hair as I tried to catch my breath. I need time, Maya. I don't even know if I want her back. Is it fair to put myself, or her, through that again? It's not about fair, it's about being real. Ask yourself, will you regret not having the chance to say goodbye? The question hung between us, heavy with truth. My heart raced as I stared out into the rain-soaked night, the drops hitting the window resonating like a drumbeat to a question I had long avoided. Could I truly face Lydia again? Not just her past betrayal, but now a pain that stemmed deeper than my own. Apologies felt inadequate against the backdrop of mortality. I've got to go, Maya said softly, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. Just think about it, David. I set the phone down, my breath coming in shaky gasps as I fought to gather myself. Yet a glimmer of something broke through, hope, perhaps, or even forgiveness. I didn't know what shape it would take, but the thought of Lydia needing me ignited something within that I hadn't expected. Should I seek her? Should I step into the storm she had created, offering the support she might resist but crave? The joy of seeing the children playing across the street flashed in my mind, their innocent laughter hinting that even amidst heartache, moments of beauty could prevail. Before I could gather my thoughts into a coherent plan, another storm rattled against my door. I jolted up and rushed to peek through the peephole. A silhouette loomed, drenched in rain yet unmistakably familiar. My breath hitched as I recognized the unmistakable figure beneath the hood, Lydia. The moment hung like electricity in the air, brimming with unspoken words and heavy history. And there I stood, at the crossroad of the past and future, uncertain of what choice lay, a heated decision pulsing with raw feeling, waiting to unravel the chaos. The rain had intensified, each drop a deafening reminder of the tempest swirling inside me. I stood frozen at the door, the weight of Lydia's presence on the other side both formidable and magnetic. My heart thudded violently in my chest, as if it sought to burst free from the confines of my confusion. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs, bringing clarity long buried amidst my turmoil. Memories of laughter shared and delicate whispers weighed me down, and yet they flickered like candle flames, stubbornly refusing to be extinguished. With trembling fingers, I gripped the doorknob, my heart a tempest of betrayal and longing, fear and hope. Would I find the strength to open that door, David? Her voice was soft, almost drowned out by the rhythm of the rain. That simple utterance pulled me back momentarily from my bring. Her voice, so achingly familiar, melted the shadows of the past, but simultaneously cast new doubts over our uncertain future. I turned the knob slowly, the door creaking open like an old wound. There she stood, her hair darkened by rain, clinging to her cheeks, eyes shimmering with an uncharacteristic vulnerability that pierced my defenses. "I'm sorry for showing up like this." My gaze flitted between her weary expression and the remnants of our shared history. "You came back," I finally managed, the tension stretching painfully thin between us. "After all this time, I had nowhere else to go," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. I could see her shivering, and a fleeting instinct compelled me to invite her in, to wrap her in warmth and the chaotic comfort of familiarity. I stepped aside reluctantly, allowing her to cross the threshold. The moment felt monumental, a bridge being constructed between our painful past and an uncertain present. "You shouldn't be outside in this weather," I said, the instinct to care overcoming the stormy upheaval of emotions wrestling within me. She stepped into the warmth of my home, a fragile figure beside the flickering lights that barely illuminated the remnants of my solitary life. "I know it's abrupt. I just needed to see you. I didn't want to say goodbye over the phone." Each word was heavy with unshed tears, and for a moment, my resolve wavered. "What do you want, Lydia?" The question tumbled out of me, not with anger, but a desperate yearning for clarity amid the chaos that threatened to spiral out of control again. Things were never easy for us. Shaking, she looked away, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I understand if you're angry. I'm not angry," I snapped, regretting my tone as soon as I saw the hurt flicker across her face. "I'm scared. I'm scared that you're sick. Scared to see you again like this, after what happened. I didn't want you to see me this way." Her admission hung heavily between us, as if it carried the weight of her illness alongside the burden of our shared mistakes. "Lydia, you've carried this alone for too long. Why didn't you turn to me?" My heart ached for her suffering, a familiar pang flaring into something deeper, more profound. "I would have been there," she shook her head, her natural grace faltering. "I didn't want to drag you into my mess again, especially now." The sound of her voice cracking echoed in the stillness of the room, mourning more than just her health. In that instant, something in me broke. I could not separate my heartache from hers. "But you came back. You wanted to see me after all this time. No more running away." I didn't know what else to do. The tears she had been holding back finally fell, and I stepped closer, reaching out instinctively to comfort her. As she leaned into my touch, I felt the chasm of lost time and unspoken words beginning to close, if only a fraction. Yet, before I could allow myself to feel the flicker of hope that rose anew, there was a sharp knock at the door, jarring us both. The sound reverberated through the room, pulling us back from the fragile connection we were beginning to forge. As I exchanged worried glances with Lydia, uncertainty bloomed anew, and my skin prickled with anxiety. David? Maya's voice came through the door, urgent and laced with concern. Are you in there? The chaos within me roared back to life as I faced Lydia, our past and fragile present colliding forcefully with an unwelcome intrusion. Questions swirled. Would this disrupt our moment, or was it a chance to include her in the world I had carved out since Lydia left? Should I? Lydia began hesitantly, her expression morphing into a mixture of fear and apprehension. My heart raced. What do we do, David? But as I opened the door, prepared for the confrontation, a shadow of doubt settled deep within me. The road ahead was more complicated than I ever imagined. Would this encounter lacerate the fragile truce we were on the cusp of forming, or would it be the firm foundation needed to reignite that which had been lost? And as I let Maya in, the storm outside raged with renewed fury, like a testament to the tumultuous hearts inside the shelter of these four walls. The weight of unspoken stories loomed like thunder, ready to unleash everything we weren't prepared to face. The door swung open to reveal Maya, drenched from the rain, her eyes wide and frantic. She stepped inside quickly, shaking the moisture from her hair like a startled bird. The moment she crossed the threshold, the atmosphere in the room shifted, thickening with tension. I could feel Lydia pulling away, the warmth of our moment dwindling as Maya's presence flooded the space. Maya began, but gentle curiosity turned to alarm when she noticed Lydia standing against the wall, her arms crossed tightly, as if she feared expanding the space between us. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice tighter than I intended. I was worried about you, Maya said, her brow furrowing in concern as she took in my expression and the disheveled figure of Lydia. The rain is getting worse, and I thought. She glanced back and forth between us, sensing the charged air that clung to the room like humidity before a storm. Lydia's just I stumbled over my words, caught in a tempest of emotions. She needed to talk. Maya's gaze softened as she turned back to Lydia. Something unspoken passed between them, a silent recognition of shared struggle. I'm glad you're here, Lydia. David mentioned you were going through a tough time. Lydia's shoulders drooped at the revelation, and I felt the need to buffer against the mounting pressure. It's not what you think. She just showed up. Sure, but it's a relief to see you, Maya continued, her voice warm and genuine. I've missed you. There was a slight pause, a moment where the three of us stood suspended in time, grappling with unprocessed emotions. Lydia opened her mouth, hesitated, and then closed it again, caught in the net of her vulnerability. I didn't want anyone to worry, she finally whispered, her eyes starting to the ground in a gesture of shame. You're not alone anymore, Maya said softly, stepping just a little closer, closing the distance between them with the quiet wisdom of companionship. My heart jostled, torn between wanting to interject, to draw Lydia back into our shared reality, and the need to let Maya extend her hand of connection, a delicate lifeline in the treacherous waters of our past. Maybe you should sit down, Maya suggested gently, pulling a chair away from the dining table. Lydia moved slowly, as if the burden of existence itself weighed her down, collapsing into the seat with a sigh that resonated through the hollow space between us. As I leaned against the wall, wrestling with my own uncertainty, I watched as Maya knelt beside Lydia, her voice a soft balm. You need to take care of yourself. Lydia's eyes glistened, and a fragile smile broke through her storm of emotions. You always were the caring one. Maya chuckled lightly, though her eyes shone with unshed tears. That's what friends are for, right? I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude toward Maya for filling the gaps Lydia had created in our lives. But in the corner of my heart, a burning realization struck: this reunion would not be simple. Past grievances threaded the fabric of our connection, and the storms in our hearts had yet to settle. Can I make you some tea or something? I attempted to break the heavy silence, hoping to lift the tempest just a little. Please, Lydia answered, her voice gaining a hint of strength, but it still trembled with the fragility of openness. As I moved toward the kitchen, my heart was torn between wanting to provide comfort and the instinctual fear of digging deeper into the mess we had created. The kettle hissed like an angry ghost, masking the pulsing loneliness of my own thoughts as the minutes ticked by. When I returned, tea in hand, I found Maya and Lydia knee-deep in shared memories, the warmth of laughter intertwined with the threads of sorrow. Do you remember that time we got lost hiking? Maya's voice danced above the soft patter of rain against the windows. It rained halfway up the mountain, and we ended up slipping into that muddy creek. Lydia laughed, a sound like music to my ears, even as it sank into me like an anchor. But my heart cringed at the cost. Was this the rekindling of friendship? Or the slow dissolution of something deeper? Still, the uneasiness continued to claw at my insides, filling the gaps they were trying to bridge with memories of unhealed wounds. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen next, how long this moment would last before the truth suffocated the atmosphere once more. David? Maya pulled me from my thoughts, her expression suddenly serious. I think we need to talk about what's been happening, what you both have been going through. Lydia flinched at the suggestion, but the fearful resignation in her eyes did not go unnoticed. A new level of wariness set in. Maybe it's not the right time, Maya, I intervened, feeling the tension unravel behind my words. We're still figuring things out. But we can't just ignore it, Maya pressed, her urgency palpable in her voice. It's okay to be scared, but bottling it up won't help. We need to face the truth. Lydia's breath caught in her throat. Maybe it's better to ignore it, her voice trembled, a hint of desperation beneath her resolve. As my heart thundered, anticipating the storm on the horizon, I realized how precarious this moment was. One wrong step could cascade into chaos, potentially erasing the fragile foundation we were attempting to reconstruct. But before I could respond, a loud clap of thunder shook the very walls of my home, echoing my spiraling thoughts and echoing the lingering weight of unasked questions. Suddenly, there was a frantic knock on the door again, even louder this time, making the entire room jolt simultaneously. David, open up. A voice I recognized as Alex, my neighbor and friend, fear and urgency threading through each syllable. A chill ran down my spine. What is it? I called out, dread tangling with inquisition. Just open the door, please. His voice echoed, an anxious urgency slicing through my hesitations. Lydia looked at me, her eyes wide, an unspoken question hanging between us. Maya glanced toward the door, her concern a stark reminder of the worlds beyond our own. What's happening? As I opened the door, the disquieting reality of an undefined emergency loomed on the other side, leaving my heart racing with the potential of added turmoil. I took a deep breath, the air heavy with anticipation, as Alex's expression slowly turned from urgency to shock. David, you need to see this, he stammered, the weight of his words sending a chill through the room. What is it? I asked, fear gripping my spirit. Something terrible has happened, and it's all connected. And then, with those words hanging ominously between us, I realized that the fabric of our lives had begun to unravel in an unexpected and unimaginable way, pulling my world and Lydia's into the eye of a deepening storm. I stood frozen in the doorway as the shadows in my mind clashed with the stark reality pouring into my life. Alex's gaze held an urgency that cut through the warmth of the moment we had just begun to piece together, like an ice pick cracking through a fragile facade. Lydia and Maya exchanged worried glances, and I felt the churning weight of anticipation thrum in the silence that followed. The storm's only getting worse. Trees are down, power lines are sparking. The whole neighborhood's in chaos right now, Alex said, his voice trembling, an affront to our mounting tension. And there's more. People are worried about Lydia. At that, I turned slowly to Lydia, her expression a delicate mix of horror and resignation. They shouldn't be, she insisted, but I could see the cracks forming in her resolve, thin and jagged under the surface of careful composure. Do you want to go out there? I asked, the thought pressing against my chest like a heavy anchor. The uncertainty tightened its grip on my heart. But before I could ease the knot of concern for her with my words, Alex continued, panic lacing his voice. You have to listen to me. I saw a news alert. There's a concern that it might spread. And people are saying things about Lydia, that they don't know how much time she has left, and that it could be contagious. The air grew dense with a medley of disbelief, grief, and anger. I shot a furious glance at Lydia, who stood with her arms wrapped around herself, eyes haunted by unspoken fears. Lydia, I breathed, stepping forward, my heart aching for her. My need to protect surged to the surface, forcing my hand to reach out toward her. But before I could speak again, the storm roared outside, the sky's fury matching the tempest swirling inside my heart. A wave of ice-cold dread washed over me, tethering my emotions to the ground beneath my feet. All at once, my gut twisted painfully as I grappled with how explosive truths tangled around us, even as we stood on the cusp of healing. "David, I need you to be strong," Lydia whispered, her voice shaking. "There's so much we need to talk about," she hesitated, glancing nervously at the door, almost unsure if she wanted to move closer or retreat into the recesses of her mind. "I can't think straight with this kind of pressure, this chaos," I admitted, my heart echoing her fear, desperate to shield her. Then, in that moment when the world outside rumbled with brutal honesty, there came a knock, tentative yet resolute, tearing through the mounting tension like a blade through fabric. Someone else was here. Alex moved to the door, his eyes widening in recognition. The clamor of chaotic footsteps echoed outside as he flung the door wide open. "Where are you?" Claire's voice drifted in like a whisper through the storm, contained yet urgent. I whipped around to see her, soaked and fierce, with fear etched upon her features, yet there was a beautiful resilience clashing against the picture of despair we'd been struggling with. "I heard there might be a crowd forming around here, looking for Lydia," she said, her eyes cutting through the murky waters of uncertainty swirling between us. "I wanted to make sure you were both okay." As though the world around had suddenly shifted into clarity, the connection surged back into my chest, the kind of connection that refracted light amidst the dark, piercing the chaotic heaviness with something far more powerful. "Hope, Claire," I began, pulling her in gently, my hands shaking but resolute. "This is Lydia. She needs," my voice faltered as I swallowed bitter truths. "She needs our help." Stepping closer to the warmth radiating from the small assembly, I felt the vulnerability cascading through our mismatched collection of misfits. Lydia's shoulders dropped slightly, the shadows of her past intertwining interspersed with cautious fires of understanding from the present. Yet, as I turned to address Lydia once more, a fragile whisper in the tremor of her emotions reached me. "What I have, it's not just about me," she murmured quietly in the growing tension. "I'm scared I won't be able to heal." The past. In that moment, I felt a rush of determination, carving a new destiny from the shards of darkness that had surrounded us for so long. "We're stronger together. No more hiding or pretending. It's time to embrace what we've been avoiding." My words echoed in the stillness, a proclamation echoing against the tempest outside. "You're not alone, Lydia," Claire insisted fiercely, her gaze unwavering. "We'll figure this out together. Whatever this is, we can weather it." And as I looked around our small circus, the individuals stitched together by shared grief, but also by a growing sense of belonging, I felt an electric pulse vibrating through the space between us. "It's time to choose joy, Lydia. Let's reconnect, share what we're afraid of, what we've lost, so we can begin to heal." The words hung in the air, shimmering between us with hope, renewal, and a touch of fear. Lydia looked at each of us, tears brimming in her eyes, and I could feel the mix of sorrow and acceptance washing over her, soothing the chaos we had crossed to reach this point. "I don't want to fight this alone anymore," she whispered, vulnerability marked by strength. The shadows of her past began to dissipate slightly, an unmistakable flicker of light threading through. With hands grasped tightly within our little gathering, I turned my gaze towards the horizon of the storm, both outside and within. I resolved to stand beside her, a line drawn in the sand, a commitment to walk toward healing, through the painful intersections of fear and love. Suddenly, the clouds seemed to part for a heartbeat, granting a glimpse of hazy moonlight, flickering through the drops of rain. In that moment, I resonated with a truth I had longed to find. Life is not just about surviving the storms. It is about finding the strength to dance amidst the rain, in courage and unity. Together, we were undeniably stronger, each choice, each moment, intricately woven into a masterpiece forever bearing the touch of love and hope. And hanging in the space that became our refuge, my heart beat with unwavering resolve, and I knew without a doubt, we were ready for whatever came next. "We're in this together," I said softly, and they echoed my sentiment, their voices wrapping around us like a warm embrace, too beautiful to drown beneath the storm. And as we gathered closer, hands united, I dared to dream of new beginnings crafted amidst shared laughter and unending resilience. For this was just the beginning, our next chapter full of potential, hope, and the innate magic waiting to unfurl in the story of us. In that moment, amidst trembling hearts swelling with courage, I understood that love, though frayed, would always find a way to guide us home. Driven by that realization, I surrendered to the power of connection, letting it weave through our entwined lives as we chose this path together, a radiant light pushing through the shadows, lighting the way forward. And as we stood anchored together, I knew we would weather any storm that dared to approach. The darkness held no dominion over us anymore, for shattered hearts mingled with unwavering souls bound by the magic of unyielding love. "Let's embrace the journey," I breathed. "Together."